Okay, we're back. This will be the last time, but I don't think using evidence would work.
I forgot. There's only one path left for me to
take. You conclusively
prove his guilt.
Yet still he manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do.
Raise an objection.
Yes, when all the games are over, it's the obvious choice. Let my voice reverberate around the courtroom and make people listen to reason.
Objection!
That was the easy part. That's true. What do I say next? Samantha has fought many battles in this very courtroom. Let me offer some advice. Objections need substance behind them. Otherwise, they are merely objectionable. The defense has no objection to being penalized in this instance. What? You know what? I think we'll just wait and see. Feel it out. At critical times like this, I've always found myself thinking it's best to wait and see what happens. I can't help feeling that perhaps you've missed countless opportunities as a result. How? How could you possibly know my life has been one long list of missed opportunities? Then let us never have this discussion again. Bailiff, sequester the minutes of the trial. Not so fast, my lord. The defense has evidence to present. Okay, there we go. But you know what I mean? You know what I think it is? There's some kind of evidence we have that shows he wasn't doing this for the good of the country. Probably something like that. Like, that's the only way to turn them into our favor. You're always tardy, counsel. I have no sympathy for tardiness. What? Enough. No further discussion is required. And for the triumph of justice, the only correct course of action has been unanimously acknowledged by the clear majority here present. Now, all mention of that which has been discussed in this courtroom today will be struck from the records. Baroque Van Zeek, or should I say Reaper of the Bailey? The heinous crimes committed by your brother, Clint Van Zeeks, will be lost in obscurity, this time forever. May you also find peace now as you join your sibling in the eternal darkness. So, in accordance with the findings of this court, I hereby pronounce the defendant Baroque Van Zeeks.
You can't do that. So we have to present evidence.
Yeah, like immediately it looks like. Express my heartfelt gratitude. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the record shall be erased. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation in his favor. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation. You've conclusively proven his guilt, yet still he manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do. Looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. There's really one path left. Oh, this must be my alarm. Use evidence. This seems right. Yes, as I know only too well, the only thing that carries any weight in court is hard evidence. But, Mr. Naruhodo, what evidence is there to use at this stage in the trial? I have an idea. I don't know whether anything will come of it, but there was a time for using this particular item we have among the evidence. It's now. Do we have to use this? Or what proof?
Oh, that's what I'm asking. Is like, are we trying to prove that he
Doesn't care, or are we trying to get some help again because we're stuck?
Well, if you pull on that, okay, pull on the stairs then.
Oh my. Yes, Mr. Sholmes asked if you had that with you earlier. We've exposed all of Lord Strongheart's wrongdoing now. I've no doubt that Mr. Sholmes has already deduced exactly how the truth will unfurl. So I think it must be time for the great detective to take center stage, don't you? Yes, absolutely. Let's take the hair by the ears then and heave. Alright, here goes. Heave! Ow, 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 ow. My dear fellows, must I remind you every time a gentle tug will suffice? Mr. Sholmes, you're looking in quite the wrong direction, Mr. Naruhodo, because I'm over here. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, he's... What? It's Mr. Sholmes.
Is it hologram?
Man, they're really stretching it with what technology she makes. I wasn't expecting you back, Sholmes. Delighted to be here again, Lord Strongheart. What? What is the meaning of this? Bailiff, seize him. Put that man in irons. This is a closed court. You've been warned once already, man. What the? We can't get a hold of him, my lord. We just go right through him. You know what this is like? The illusionist scene?
Oh, yeah.
I'm afraid your efforts are wasted. You see, the great detective you see before you is composed entirely of light and shadow. An image, if you will. Mr. Naruhodo, I must congratulate you on your fine deductions. Mr. Sholmes, what on earth is... Are you familiar, I wonder, with the invention known as the telephone? Well, yes. I hear that some public telephones have been installed recently in Tokyo. The sound of the speaker's voice is converted to an electrical signal and transmitted instantly to another place. Quite, Sholmes' sounds are transmitted, so could not images keep them company, I'm mused. Iris and I did some modest experimentations to develop such a device specifically for this very day. Modest experimentation, Mr. Sholmes. What a modest description. And somewhat incidentally, I thought we might just as well transmit an entire scene. Somewhat incidentally, Mr. Sholmes, now you're just being immodest. Do you mean to say you're not actually here, Sholmes? I knew my trusty partner would have no trouble grasping the concept. Except he's grasping the stand to steady himself after your shock arrival. Poor father. I would have hoped he might have been forewarned, being the great detective's great partner. Leave my courtroom at once. Get out, or I swear to you, he looks so scary when he's mad and flustered like this. Dear me, you on the other hand, Lord Strongheart, appear to have a very poor grasp of the situation. Allow me to reiterate, I am not here, which would, I hope, lead naturally to one asking, where exactly are you? The very question I was awaiting. I am at present enjoying the air in a rather splendid garden. A garden? Not just any garden, you understand. A garden at Buckingham Palace.
Oh, he lives in the Queen.
What? You can't be Buckingham Palace? What's Buckingham Palace, Miss Usato? I've never heard of it. Do you ever read the news, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? Is Iris with you there? Ah, well now, Iris is currently enjoying some tea with Her Majesty. Her Majesty? Not just any Her Majesty, you understand. Her Majesty, the Queen of the British Empire. What? What on earth is all this about? Buckingham Palace is Her Majesty the Queen's residence in London, Mr. Naruhodo. Order in court, I demand immediate silence. Her Majesty the Queen, you can't be... I mean, no. This is some sort of unforgivably distasteful trickery by a third-rate detective, that's all. Unforgivably distasteful trickery. What an apt description. A closed court session attended by elite members of the judiciary is a rare event. I presume that Her Majesty would be more than a little curious about the proceedings. So I decided to show her everything from start to finish. Ah, you showed her? Indeed. by dint of the Herlock Sholmes remote cinematograph. You meddling. This is some kind of nightmare. Poor Van Zieks. Poor Van Ziek. Just as I appear to be standing before you, regaling you with talk of my latest invention. No doubt you've inferred that the reverse is also true. You don't mean... Her Majesty has seen and heard every moment of the proceedings. I assume there would be no objection. After all, every trial in this country is conducted under the auspices of Her Majesty, as you know. You... I confess I am quite impatient to hear Her Majesty's opinion about the unforgivably distasteful trickery in which you've been engaged over the past 10 years. No, I was merely... I'm so sorry to keep all of you waiting. Vicky and I had so much to talk about. Irish, there you are. In fact, I have a little message here from Her Majesty. A message? Well then, if everyone is sitting comfortably... Forthwith and with immediate effect, all authority previously afforded to Mael Strongheart is hereby revoked forevermore. Furthermore, he will be prosecuted for crimes against this country in a public trial by jury in the coming days. So, it seems that Her Majesty doesn't believe we need to fight fire with fire. Justice in this country needn't be administered from the shadows at all. Mael Strongheart, the darkness you fostered to conceal your despicable actions these last 10 years is a thing of the past now. After today, your brand of law and order has no future, because no longer are you the Lord Chief Justice. In the eyes of the law and of Her Majesty the Queen, you are nothing but a criminal. We're about to see his meltdown, aren't we?
I think so.
Oh, please have a bunch of, like, pocket watches jutting out of his...
Oh, maybe the cogworks will come out.
Oh, God.
With the springs.
Uh-oh. Adjourned, 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 adjourned. Court is adjourned. Man, he's really guilty then. Oh God, his thing's gonna catch on fire.
Uh-oh.
Nuh-uh! Oh my God. Whoa!
I thought he was gonna get impaled, but...
Wow. Lord Clid Van Zieks left a will in which he confessed to everything. When these words came out of Asogi's mouth, it deranged me completely. I knew I must do anything and everything in my power to contain the situation. But I couldn't find the damned document. I searched his cell, but it wasn't there. Which precipitated the jailbreak plot, I presume. What do you mean? The need to obtain that will was all-consuming. I was sure that if I facilitated Asogi's escape, he would emerge with the will somewhere on his person. But despite searching his limp body in the cemetery that night, it still eluded me. It never even crossed my mind that it was concealed in the sword's hilt. What pains me now is that my brother left this world without a word to me. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks. In point of fact, I think perhaps that isn't the case. Sorry. How can that be? There is more to his last will and testament. What? As I confront the prospect of my demise, I feel bitter regret for my younger brother. Hiroki, you've always looked up to me, and now you follow in my footsteps to become a prosecutor. It's my fervent wish that my unspeakable deeds should not hinder your advancement. I ask not for understanding, for none could understand my depravity. I ask only for forgiveness. Asogi is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final 2 wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zieks. Where did you get that? Clint. Well, I guess he really has no reason to hate the Japanese.
No.
Because, they... Male Strongheart. You colluded with Shishiro Jigoku in a criminal plot so immense it spanned the oceans. And you cold-heartedly murdered all those who knew the truth about what happened 10 years ago. But why did you set about that now, a whole decade later? To ascend to the very peak. These last 10 years made me realize being the Lord Chief Justice wasn't enough. Short of becoming Her Majesty's Attorney General, I could have no real power to effect the changes needed in this country. And for that promotion, I needed to ensure no remnants of the past remained. How could you? I like everything to run smoothly in the exact manner that I prescribe, like a well-oiled machine. And I was just a step away. And for your ambition to succeed, did you even bother to count the number of brilliant people you had killed? Ah, Mr. Reaper, you're not forgetting something. Such as... You very much adopted your usual prosecutor-like demeanor in the proceedings now. But the reality of the situation is that you are the defendant in this trial. However, the presiding judge would appear to have fallen from the bench, as it were. May I suggest, therefore, that we entrust the final adjudication to an old friend? The only judge, apparently, who was actually... Yeah. God, to think, I thought Jigoku was on the level before the takedown. Then I thought Strongheart was on the level. This guy, I guess at least I thought he was smarter than the judge from the original games.
Yes.
As a member of the Judiciary, I have been following the proceedings from the gallery, and I must say, I shan't ever forget the extraordinary battle between good and evil that I witnessed here today. Oh, that regular gavel sounds so nice. The darkness that has blighted justice in our land these past 10 years has at last been dispelled. Thanks in no small part to the efforts of a bright young star from the east. Defense Counsel Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. On behalf of everyone here present in the Old Bailey, I give you my heartfelt thanks. You're too kind, my lord. First time I faced you in court just under a year ago now, I had the faintest of intimations that if British justice so warped and twisted over its long history was finally to know change, this might just be the man to do it. Well, but at the time I wouldn't allow myself to acknowledge the possibility. I couldn't overcome my hatred of the Japanese after the circumstances of my brother's death. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to apologize for countless discourtesies on my part. You are a lawyer of boundless talent. When I first arrived in Great Britain, I was literally a nobody, certainly not a lawyer. The truth is, my fortunes have entirely been made by the miraculous people I've met. My best friend Kazuma Asogi, who led me here to Britain in the first place. My loyal and ever-patient judicial assistant, Miss Susato, who helped me study to become a lawyer. The brilliant Lord Van Zieks, who never failed to challenge his Nipponese rival. And not to mention, the exceptional master of logic and reasoning who showed me the true art of deduction, Mr. Sholmes. Saving the best for last, Mr. Naruhodo. What a relief. I'm well aware that without all these people's help and support, I wouldn't be where I am today. The truth is a guiding light that always leads to happiness. I've lived by that principle for a long time now, but actually it's not true. The truth can also cause great pain, sometimes even leaves people on the brink of despair. And for that reason, there are those who feel the need to hide the truth, who do it instinctively even. But as soon as we allow our eyes to settle on something other than the truth, the darkness takes hold, and from there it grows until eventually it makes us blind to the guiding light of the truth altogether. So that's why it's my belief that we must all resolve never to avert our eyes from what is just and true. So that we can continue to walk the straight and narrow path ahead. Well, I must excuse myself now. Before I go, Mr. Naruhodo, let me compliment you on your grand opus. What? Without your beautifully composed case against Lord Strongheart, Her Majesty would have been unable to act. Thanks to you and your fellows, the haunting undertones corrupting Britain's justice system have been silenced. Thank you very much. So until our paths cross again somewhere... Well then, it would appear that this long trial has finally come to an end. My apologies for any anxiety caused, my lord. I'm quite sure we shall meet again in the courtroom before long, Prosecutor Baroque Van Zieks. In conclusion of these proceedings, I hereby declare the defendant Baroque Van Zieks that is all. Court is adjourned. It really is all over. But did I sacrifice too much? Mr. Naruhodo, I really must congratulate you. It was a truly, truly splendid performance. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for you. Oh, thank you very much, but I really couldn't have done it without you at my side through it all, Mrs. Sato. You and all your books you keep in there. Your kind words mean so much to me. It really was a splendid show, that, Naruhodo. I'd have thought you'd be smiling from ear to ear, but you look rather glum. Well, of course I'm delighted about the verdict, but in exposing the truth, I'm afraid I've caused my client a great deal of pain. I'm really not sure that's what a lawyer ought to be doing. Oh well, in that case, I'm quite sure that when you see Lord Van Ziek's smiling face, everything will seem much better. Mrs. Sato, everything seems worse. He has a face like thunder. Oh dear, I really shouldn't have presumed. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Almost a year it's been now since I first encountered you here in this very courthouse. For you to have risen to the level of excellence you demonstrated today, well, it's quite remarkable. But I exposed the most unpalatable truth you could ever have imagined in court today. I feel as though I've robbed you of something you held so dear. What was it he said? To fight those who dwell in the darkness, it requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. But that was just the feeble excuse of a coward. Only those with a steadfast eye for the truth have what it takes to fight the dark forces of crime. You made fine work of establishing that fact in court today. Oh. Well, thank you. What magnanimous words. I'm quite sure that Kazuma-sama would have a smile on his face at this very moment if he were here. Kazuma. Miss Usata. There's another face like thunder here. Oh my, and he really was here. Lord Van Zieks. Allow me to congratulate you on your acquittal. Congratulate me or curse me. You failed to bring down the Reaper. I owe you an apology. No, it is I who should apologize. Your father Genshin, if I had been stronger, then perhaps I made an unforgivable error of judgment. Can offer no excuse. And I can offer no forgiveness. That said, I suppose you fought for justice and the truth. For that at least I can't withhold respect. Your words mean more to me than you can know. I will hold them dear. I must say, there's one thing that's still bothering me. What's that? The will that Lord Clint Van Zieks wrote before his duel with my father. Soak is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is this document survives. The second I cannot commit to paper. I confess my sins to my wife, may she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I have rested my quill. Clint Van Zieks. What can the second of his final wishes have been? That your father agreed to honor, you mean? I think perhaps I might be able to shed some light on that. It was 10 years ago, as you know, the day before the execution was scheduled, I went to the prison to say my farewells to Genshin. Why aren't you putting up more of a fight, Genshin? If you'd only agree to it, Shishiro and I would gladly petition the government. We've been through this already, you don't need to worry about me. Anyway, Yujin, I have a favor to ask of you, something of great importance. You're one of my greatest friends, Genshin. Whatever it is, consider it done. I'm going to tell you an address. I need you to go there at once, in secret and telling no one. You should find a lady of the gentry in hiding there. A lady of the gentry? She's not in a good way, and she's with child. The birth is imminent. As a medical man, I'd like you to attend to her. Please, you're her only hope. By any chance, is the child yours, Genshin? Don't be daft. It's a favor that was asked of me by a man I knew as his dying wish. My goodness. I swore to the man that I would help, that I would do whatever I could for his wife and his unborn child. But if something should happen to me, I need to ask you that same favor. You're the only person I knew that I can rely on. What did you say? If something should happen to you? Tomorrow night you're going to be... You never know, though, do you? What life will bring. Alright then, tell me the address. I'll head there at once with Shishiro, and no, not with him. Pardon? This is a favor I'm asking of you and only you, Yujin. Right, I see. Very well then. It's Baroque? Iris's uncle, then?
Yeah, looks like it.
The very night I caught a train from Paddington to Dartmoor in Devon. I found the old house in the middle of nowhere it was. An old hunting hound lay asleep in the grounds. The poor woman was on the floor at the back of a darkened room. She was in mortal danger. I broke her water to precipitate the labor before she weakened further, but it was a torturous birth. I did everything humanly possible for her and her child. And in the end, I was lucky enough to welcome a new life into the world. But tragically, my efforts to save the mother's life were in vain. I held the healthy newborn girl in my arms and wept for longer than I cared to remember. Eventually, in something of a daze, I looked around the room. There was precious little in it, but an old travel trunk caught my eye. It had clearly been well looked after over the years, made of top-quality leather with fine stitching, but it was when I saw the emblem on the side of it that everything dropped into place. B for Baskerville. Baskerville? You mean the woman was the wife of Lord Clint Van Zieks? That's right. The newborn was his daughter. But that makes no sense. Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted a child to my care in that case? I was completely unaware that he even had a daughter. I suppose he didn't really have any choice. Well, your brother said that he'd confessed everything to his wife, so she must have been beside herself with worry for her child. If the true identity of the professor were ever to be made public, the girl would be forever branded as the daughter of the infamous mass murderer. So the only solution was to distance the young girl from the Van Zieks family as much as possible. I don't believe it. I imagine that in his final hour, Lord Clint Van Zieks made the obvious choice. He would have thought to himself, this Japanese man here is someone I can trust. I honored my promise to Genshin, of course. However, only a month later I was summoned back to Japan, and without disclosing the parentage of the child, I couldn't obtain permission to take her with me. Oh, how awful. I was completely at a loss. In the end, I had to ask my great friend. I asked him if he would be a father to her. That being Mr. Sholmes, I presume. Yes, he took one look into my eyes and agreed to it on the spot. Mr. Sholmes, he has a heart of gold. Really, all it can be said that I did for the child was to give her a name. Oh? When I'd come to Britain, I was trying to escape from the grief of losing my darling wife, so it was her name that I gave the little girl. Your wife's name, Professor Mikotoba. In other words, the name of my mother, Ayumi Mikotoba. Oh. That's right, Ayame, or in English, Iris. Iris? I had no idea. Ouch, Mr. Naruhodo, what's wrong? The little thing just pinched me on the behind through my trouser pocket hard. Ah, my dear fellows, can you hear me? It's Sholmes, is that you? That's yes, we can hear you. You see what excessive tugging can do? Let that be a lesson to you. Mr. Sholmes, you weren't able to thank you properly before, but you were simply marvelous. Your checkmate move was a stroke of genius. Indeed it was, wasn't it? I surpassed myself, I feel. It had become apparent to me that to stop the Lord Chief's injustice would require such measures. Runo, Susie... Oh, Iris. Oh, I'm so pleased, what a wonderful outcome. Her Majesty Queen Vicky said she thought my special blend was delicious. Oh, I'm sure she did. After all, no one brews a more delicious tea than you do, Iris. Let's have a party to celebrate. And Mr. Reaper, you simply must come too. What? I'm afraid I couldn't. The Reaper of the Barely, flushed by a 10-year-old girl again. No, really? Oh, pooh. But I give you my word that I shall present myself at your residence in the near future to express my gratitude. Oh, how lovely. You've promised now, I won't let you forget. Bye for now, then. Alright, Iris, thank you for all your help earlier. Oh, that was nothing. Just come back home soon. Ouch. One final pinch goodbye, was it? Well, I think I ought to be leaving. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to accompany me? Certainly. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me once again to express my deep gratitude to you. I believe you saved my life. Wait, Lord Van Zieks. Yes? What are you intending to do now? Well, clearly I shall have to resign from the prosecutor's office. Oh no. I intend to publicize the full truth about the Professor case. Once that's done, the Van Zeeks family will be ostracized completely from London society. Surely not. So as soon as I am free from my employment, I shall leave the capital. Oh, I see. Don't be a fool. Are those the actions of a man once feared as the mighty Reaper of the Bailey? I beg your pardon. For the past 10 years you've endured that pseudonym and have been cast as one of the dark forces yourself. Now that you've finally been freed from that disrepute, your battle is just beginning, surely. Well, I certainly never expected to hear those words from your lips. I waited a very long time to come to London. Now I'm properly here, I attempt to learn all that I can. Anyway, goodbye for now, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma Sogi. It seems as though he's really matured suddenly. He's not the only one who's matured, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I think we should make our way back to Baker Street. We must help Iris with tonight's dinner. We must. And then maybe she can tell us why she knew about Hound of the Baskervilles, because I'm still wondering about that. It was then that I came to an important decision about my future.
Who, Susie?
How did you...
And her dad stuff, or something about it. Remember?
Really? Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
God, I must forget it, though. I'm home. Oh dear. Ah! About time you got here. We've been waiting ages, Odo. What are you doing with that? Colorful piece of history. It's a party, isn't it? It's gotta go off with a bang. I mean, fireworks, ideally. But when you ain't got fire, smoke's the next best thing, ain't it? There's a girl on Fresno Street who could help you with that, I think. Right. I'll remember that. You don't have to reload that thing every time I speak. You really must hear this as quite the most extraordinary thing. I assure you it will defy your expectations. Take on every detail now, Mikotoba. Ah, the world-famous great detective, regaling his partner with the tale of his adventure. A sight to behold. Would you care to hazard a guess? Where do you suppose the fiendish Runway has concealed himself? Would you believe? Inside the trunk I found abandoned in his cabin? I would believe it, yes. I say, Mikotoba, I detect not a hint of surprise. I wonder why that is. Maybe because I was there at the scene as well, Sholmes. What? You were? Then why the deuce didn't you say so before? Not quite the sight I was expecting to behold, but still. I was trying not to feel privileged to see it. Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Professor Mikotoba. I'm finally back from the Bailey. And not a moment too soon. A feast prepared by Iris and Miss Susato awaits. I must say I haven't seen Susato looking so happy in a very long time. Oh, Runo, there you are. Dinner's on the table, everyone. Please do come and take a seat. Time to fill me boots. Goodness, is that really true, Gina? Yep, I'm losing me copper's clobber and going back to what I know best. It's a diver's life for me. You're really leaving the police force, but why, Ginny? Well, the boss ain't around no more, so... Oh. And anyway, no matter how hard I try, that Reaper ain't never gonna accept a diver-turned-dick, is he? Well, people can change, you know. Ah yes, that reminds me. I rather thoughtfully offered to relieve the bailiff of this now defunct piece of evidence. Eh? It's the inspector's pocket watch, and the crown has been reattached. That watch was his pride and joy, a symbol of his great achievements at Scotland Yard. For 10 years without fail it measured every second of the man's remarkable career. But now it's stopped. Someone needs to keep the memory of Inspector Gregson's career alive, and taking on the great responsibility of winding that watch every single day again. Yes, someone with an equally fierce detective spirit. It's gotta be me, there ain't no one else. Quite right. I mean, after all, the boss was... Well, he was my boss. Yes, Ginny, yes he was. Oh yeah, and I made you a promise and all, didn't I, Iris? That I'd become a proper detective one day and track down your old man. Oh. Alright then, it's decided, I'll do it, and I swear, I'll find your dad and bring him in kicking and screaming. I'm not entirely sure that would be appropriate. Yes, I think, Gina, it might be best to, well... I think I'd like you to forget that promise, Ginny. Eh? Iris? Well, obviously I've always wondered about who my real daddy is. Of course I have. I wanted to know where I've come from. I thought it might tell me something about myself. That caused such a lot of trouble trying to find out. For so many people. Hurley, Runo, Professor Mickey. Oh, no, not at all, my dear. Really, you have no apology to anyone. Well, anyway, I've decided to give up on it. Because I finally realized my daddy is the greatest in the world. I don't think it matters what his name is or where he's from. Don't you agree, Hurley? With every word, Iris. Thank you, Hurley. Thank you, Daddy. I think we go Toba. Yes, Holmes. I think that I ought to express my gratitude to you. For 6 years, you and I solved many a mystery together. And during that time, I remember countless expressions of gratitude for our good services. But a moment ago, I heard the most pleasing expression of gratitude of them all. And I should never have experienced it, were it not for you. You old softy, Sholmes. But I must confess it's a weight off my mind to hear you say it. Well then, I think this calls for a lengthy violin recital, wouldn't you say? Oh well, the food would go cold, that's the only problem. Maybe next week, Hurley. Are you sure a week is long enough, Iris? Ah ha ha ha. Even amidst the most troubling of cases, even reeling from the most shocking revelations, returning in the evening to this suite of rooms, there's always warmth and happiness to be had. The home of the world's greatest detective, and my home too with my greatest family. This attic room has been my home and office for almost a year now. I've certainly had some unforgettable experiences whilst I've lived here, but I think now the time has come. Time to bid this place farewell. Naruhodo. Oh, Professor. Are you alone? I didn't hear any sound from Susato's room. Yes, Susato-san went out after dinner. She took a carriage. Something about an important matter she needed to take care of. I see. I wanted to thank you for what you did earlier. Oh? With Iris, I mean, when the subject of her father came up. Lord Clint Van Zieks. I made up my mind many years ago never to tell her who her real father was. It's what was agreed with Genshin, after all. Lord Clint Van Ziek's final wishes before he died, you mean? Yes, I've had to take some rather drastic steps at times to protect that secret, you know. Calling Susato back to Japan 6 months ago, for example. That's why. When I read Seki-san's report about his final days in London, my heart nearly stopped. He'd stumbled upon the crux of that terrible case, the dog's collar. The description of the Baskerville insignia left me in no doubt. Baskerville? If you'd decided to investigate that insignia sooner or later, you'd have made the connection to the Van Zieks. To make matters worse, Susato knew of the unpublished story as well. The story that Iris had written based on my notes from the time. Ah yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Exactly. It was a work of fiction, but based on a grim reality of a huge beast of a dog being used as a murder weapon. A dog with the Baskerville family emblem around its neck. Armed with those two clues, I feared you and Susato might arrive at the truth. So I invented that story about having collapsed to justify her leaving London and returning to Japan at once. All in aid of halting any investigations you and she might have been contemplating. I see. Something I've never understood is why Susato-san came across that manuscript in Japan, though. You know, Iris is the Hound of the Baskerville story, I mean. Ah, see? We haven't... Sholmes sent it to me. That was before Susato left Japan. He was very troubled about what should be done about it, you see. I'd read it and carelessly left it on my desk, which is where Susato came across it, of course. Ah. It was the only case Sholmes and I ever pursued that I didn't record in meticulous detail. I was stunned when I discovered that young Iris had pieced together so much of it from my paltry notes. Sholmes and I discussed the matter and decided that we couldn't allow the story's publication. At that point, I returned the manuscript by post to Sholmes for safekeeping. So you did all that to stop Iris from finding out the truth about her father. That's right, because Sholmes had told me how astute she'd become. However, having witnessed events in court today, I must say my opinion has somewhat shifted. I think at some point in the future the time will come for Iris to know the truth. And when it does, well, I believe it will be for the best. I think so too. Actually, Professor, I want to talk to you about something too. Judging from that expression, I'd say you've come to a decision, have you? Yes, I have. I will be returning with you to Japan. Are you quite sure? I'm really only here as a substitute for Kazuma, but he's here in Britain now as originally intended. Locum student Naruhodo doesn't really have a right to stay, I think. I see. Looking back now, when I first arrived here in February, my becoming a lawyer just seemed to be the way things turned out. With Kazuma, Susato-san, and Mr. Sholmes all gently pushing me in that direction. I spent the best part of the year immersed in this world, but always aware of a seed of doubt inside me. Until today. You okay, hon? Standing in that courtroom earlier, all doubts vanished from my mind. I was totally focused. I was sure of my belief in my client, and I was sure I could see the trial through. And at the end of it, I finally realized no one else chose this path for me. I chose it myself. That path of a defense lawyer, eh? Yes, that's what I am now. That's what I'll be going back with you as Japan as. And that's the path I'll be following for the rest of my life. Well, it sounds like you've made quite a resolution there. I have. Very well then. I must say, it's extremely welcome news. I shall make arrangements for your return first thing tomorrow, but I don't imagine we'll depart for a few days. Now with the symposium having been cancelled now, such a shame. Never mind, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities in the future. Well then, I bid you good night. Susato-san. I just wanted to let you know I'm back. Did you, hear what your father and I were discussing? I'm sorry, I did, yes. I couldn't help but... Oh, how much did you hear? Well, from the part about Iris's real father, I think. In other words, from the beginning. So you've made up your mind. You'll return to Japan and continue working as a defense lawyer. Ah, yes. I'm sorry, I really should have consulted you about it. I did want to earlier this evening, actually, but you'd already gone out. Oh no, that's quite alright. I already knew that it's what you'd decide, Naruhodo-san. You did? Susato-san. Ah, yes? I suppose this means it has to be farewell soon. I suppose. You'll be a great help to Kazuma going forward. I mean, I know he's a brilliant lawyer, but he's new to the British courtroom. He'll certainly benefit greatly having a brilliant judicial assistant at his side. I'll do my very best. I wish I could say it, but I just can't. I can't ask her to come with me. After all, she was always supposed to be coming to Britain as Kazuma's assistant. Is she reading his mind again? It's growing late. We should both try to get some sleep. I'm sure you must be exhausted after today. Oh yes, you're right. Before I retire, let me just say one more time. You really were quite splendid in court today. So if you ask me, anyone who thinks of you as a substitute or a locum should be ashamed of themselves. Thank you. I wonder if she's going to intercept us here, because remember at the end of the last game, we intercepted her, and she had said she'll be back and all that. I can't believe this day's finally come. Aw, you're really leaving then, Runo. I'm afraid so, Iris. Thank you so much for everything. I don't know what I'll do with your wonderful cooking, without your wonderful cooking delicious tea. I wish you weren't going. But you have to come back and visit, say you will. Of course, I promise. Well, it was a brief union, but it was a pleasure to pursue a case with you again for so long. For a while, at least, it felt like old times. Yes, I suppose on reflection, there's something to be said for it, having a little fun once in a while. I'll just go and say goodbye to the professor as well, I think. Alright, Iris, you do that. Of course, see?
I've just checked, Naruhodo-san. Your luggage is already on board. Such a beautiful morning. Perfect for embarking on a journey, isn't it?
Before I set off, I'd just like to say how thankful I am for everything you've done for me. And give my warmest regards to Kazuma, please.
Actually, I think you ought to give him your regards in person, don't you?
Sorry?
Ryunosuke.
Kazuma! What are you doing here?
Do you really think I'd miss my best friend's departure?
Thanks. To be honest, I'd been looking forward to our wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's capital. But,
Well, we'll have to save that for another time. Personally, I'm looking forward to facing you in court again.
Me too. But, we're both defense lawyers, so,
I'm going to become a prosecutor. I'll stay in Lord Van Zeek's tutelage for the time being, but before long, I intend to be just as formidable as the Reaper himself.
Oh, I see.
Actually, Ryunosuke, I have a favor to ask.
Name it.
I'd like you to take care of this for me for a while.
Karuma? Why?
Because I've seen it now. I've seen what's inside me. The demon that reared its ugly head that day. It was only for the briefest of moments. The last time I came face to face with that inspector. But it was unmistakable. I wanted to kill him. I've always known there are demons that live inside people. And now I know there is one in me. The fact that it very nearly consumed me is something I'll carry with me until the end of my days. While I devote my life to fighting those whose demons have got the better of them. As a prosecutor.
So, that's what you've resolved to do, is it?
Until I'm ready to face the demon within me. To slay it once and for all. I leave this in your care. If you'll take it.
Of course I will. I'll keep it by my side. Always. Until we meet again, then. You have your path to follow, and I have mine.
Naruhodo-san? The path you're going to follow from now on, I wonder if I might follow it at your side, and unless I'd be a burden.
What? I mean, I would very much like you to come with me. But aren't you...
You're so predictable, Ryunosuke.
I am?
Honestly, you never change at all. But that's what I like about you.
Ryunosuke. Wow, I mispronounced his name for 10 cases.
I know, but it was hard.
Yeah, Ryunosuke.
You mean you knew about this?
I like that better than Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke. That's cool, yeah.
It was the evening after Lord Van Zeek's trial came to an end. She came to see me at the prosecutor's office.
Really? Oh, when I had that conversation with Professor Mikotoba.
Now that's the business you want to take care of.
So, you'd go with Ryunosuke back to Japan?
Yes. I know it's unfair of me to follow my own interests like this.
Coming here especially to tell me. You're a stickler for etiquette, aren't you? Well, what are his feelings?
We've never discussed it, of course, and Naruhodo-san has made no such suggestion. I worry that perhaps I'd be a burden to him.
He's just as much of a stickler for etiquette as you are. He'd never say anything before he was asked. But I'd feel happy knowing you were with him. Look out for him on my behalf, will you?
Of course.
Susato-san.
What do you think, Naruhodo-san?
With you by my side, no trial would seem too daunting. So if you're willing, I'd be honored if you'd come with me. Together we can take on the world.
I'm terribly incompetent, but if you'll have me, I'd be delighted.
Oh, no, not at all. If anyone's terribly incompetent, it's me.
Ah! What's wrong?
Your luggage, Susato-san. There's no time. The ship's going to set sail any minute now.
Oh, she already put her
It's
luggage
all
on
right.
there.
There's no need to worry. As it happens, my luggage is already on board too.
It is?
Your fine judicial assistant has everything in hand as always, I see.
Bruno! Your ship's about to leave!
Time to go then. Look after yourself, Ryunosuke.
Kazuma, draw your sword. One day, when our paths cross, once more, we'll fight a duel of words across the courtroom. A day I eagerly await as a lawyer.
I've been waiting to hear you say that, partner.
Don't forget me then, Kazuma.
As if I could, Ryunosuke.
And Mr. Sholmes, thank you so much. I'm very much indebted to you.
Indeed, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe you are.
I'll never forget all you've done for me during my time in London.
Yeah, but he's right about that. He was a big freaking help.
Quite. I should like
he's
to
the one
think you
who
will remember your debt of gratitude.
Investigated Jigoku and brought him to us. Among other things.
Especially when I visit you in your country. What? The truth is, although many are ignorant of the fact, the world is far smaller than most folk realize.
Well, I'd be delighted if you came to Japan one day.
Oh yes, would welcome you with open arms, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh, that sounds wonderful! I can't wait!
In that case, let us conclude that this is to be merely a brief parting, my dear fellows.
And that brings us to the end of my adventures in Great Britain. A peculiar twist of fate brought me halfway around the world those many months ago. But that was just the start of my journey. Who knows where fate will lead me next? Still, I'm confident this won't be my last meeting with the friends I've made in London. And when we're together again, no doubt the first words I'll hear will be,
Come, the game is afoot.
Yeah. I love Susato.
The ship, with our friends from the east, sailed steadily towards the distant horizon. But Sholmes' face was alight with joy. The times may change, but a steadfast friendship will remain true, Wilson. We have but to gently close our eyes, and we are with our companions once more.
So I do just that. And when I do, I can hear his strong, familiar voice ring out.
Oh, that's how they're gonna do this.
Objection!
Until we meet again, Bruno.
I don't know what I want more. The sequel to this, or Ace Attorney 4 through 6 remastered, just like the original trilogy. I do want that because I haven't played 5 and 6. I've been thoroughly inundated with inquiries about my remote cinematograph since that day, but I have no purveyor of electrical goods. And what if my prom is close court already? Anyway, I've decided an absence from London is in order. A sojourn in distant climes. The Empire of Japan, perhaps. I understand that wardrobe class incurs no charge whatsoever. Ooh, he's going to Japan quicker than we thought. I gave a little note to Hurley that day. It just said thank you for everything, Daddy. But it made Hurley cry. And I gave him some lotion I invented as well, to dye his hair red safely. But he said that might make him cry too, so he'd rather not use it. I hope he visits Strongheart behind bars. I think we're not gonna do that. He and Jigoku seemed too evil. In those days, when I was known as the Reaper, I felt your presence at my side. Once unable to bear the burden of that grim pseudonym, I even retired from the courtroom. Despite everything, I still wear your prosecutor's badge with pride. The darkness that once beset me is no more, as you too are no more. In the words of a young foreign friend of mine, I must strive forward toward a brighter future. boss left a note for me, you know. And I can read every letter now, A to Z, the old lot. It's cleared a load of stuff up. The boss was trying to protect me, see? And that's exactly what me and Chief Inspector Toby are going to keep doing for Londoners. I only wish I could have said how grateful I was before he, you know. Aww. Afterlife? Gina, the truth is, I'm not the upstanding fellow you think I am. You might be a diver at heart, but it's a good heart. You've reminded me I need to be true to myself. I've got one more job to take care of before it's tot-tot to London town for the foreseeable. And then, I've got to complete your education in the art of detection a la Gregson, as they say. So that's why he wanted Jigoku. Confront him, I guess. Your Excellency, this man is accused of illegal entry into the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Objection, oblique overstatement overruled. The minister has been detained in Britain anyway.
It was a Wagahite.
Oh, really? My friend Susato-san is in the British courtroom all the time and doing a wonderful job. Perhaps I should have engaged the services of a regular legal team. And who's the judge now, too?
I don't know. But I like that he's got Wagahai's kittens.
Yeah, cute kitties.
Uh-oh.
Mama, is it true about Japanese people? Are they experts at filleting corpses? Yes, they are. Fish corpses on the whole.
Oh, that's kind of racist.
I'd like to hone my own filleting skills. You don't mind, do you, Mama? Yes, I do. I'm not a corpse yet, am I? No, I'm glad. Yep, she wants to do stuff to corpses so bad.
Cut everything.
Including her mother! Here I am again in Great Britain on the invitation of my dear old university friend. He sent me a very nice line, said he'd like to show me around, blah 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 blah. But what have I done? I'm so excited I picked a splendid hotel and now I can't afford the bill. Oh, Baroque, come to my rescue again, please. I wish I could just vanish into thin air sometimes. Dude. When I went to make the waxwork impression of the killer in the cemetery, I realized what had happened. But even in the witness stand of the highest court in the land, I can never speak of it. The Lord Chief Justice and I had struck a bargain, you see. For a faithful reproduction of the visage, there is nothing we two spells would not do. Hee, everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know. Hee, everyone calls me a peppino, and I sell the spaghetti. I'm more redder than my redder. Hee, everyone, they call me... Non, I cannot do it. This is ridiculous. Oh, Daly, how charming. You've made a lot of new friends here, I see. Yes, and when we're released, we're all going to Strike It Rich together. I saw somebody say that when they saw her on the jury, they're like, she looks too detailed to just be on the jury. She's going to show up again. Because all the other ones had pretty plain looks compared to the regular characters.
And the one B lady did too.
Yep. When I was accepted on the foreign study tour, I knew exactly what path I had to take. And however it might have ended, I knew that I wanted you there to see it. If I'd ended up in the dock, there's no way I would have rather had defending me. But now, thanks to you, there's a new path I want to take. I'm sure we'll meet again in the courtroom, my friend. Till now, I leave Kaburma in your care. I've made some tea, Naruhodo-san. It's important that you rest whilst you can. Once we arrive in Japan, you shall be busy establishing your new office. I'm so delighted to be accompanying you. After all, your talents have been recognized by a great detective. Because you really are the greatest of lawyers, a great ace attorney, some might say. And you know, we have to go back to Japan, because the first case has to be with Aochi. Because it's always with him or Pain.
Ouchie. So cute.
Oh, look, where the
Kitty!
Aww.
Wagahai's offspring live in Japan now.
I love it. I love the Wagahai still here, even though Wagahai was more present in the first game.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a story in the span of 2 games. Oh, they're going to do that thing where they all walk to the left, are they? See the timeline. Oh, I dig that. God, and we've been at the second game for a while, especially since we were gone for a while, we didn't play, and then...
Chickens.
Aww. There's the reporter, man.
Oh, I wish we could have saw him again, although, I mean, we found out what he was talking about.
Yeah, but, like, he did a bad thing. But shoot, like, he did it because he knew something was up, and it was way worse.
I've noticed that there's lots of cats in these, and then there's lots of roles for girls. Like, almost everyone's assistant is female. Like, there were some pretty prominent positions of female, like even though she was bad, the medical examiner was a female, and the replacement was a female.
Mm-hmm.
Gina is going to work at Scotland Yard. Like, Iris is really smart. Like, it's kind of cool to see girls in
these kind of roles.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you think about it too, like Susato, I think, she definitely was more mature than Maya, and Trucy, who you haven't met yet, who I think is adorable, but, like, she's well-read and educated, like, she's the assistant, but she's not really second fiddle at all. But you're right, they do have a lot of ladies and really interesting ones, too. So, Strongheart is definitely like the ancestor of Gant. We said that from the beginning, and like, my god, he looks like Gant, and then when he did that clapping, it was like, okay, he definitely is. Susato and Ryunosuke would be like Maya or Mia and Phoenix. I don't really know about the rest, or if the rest aren't technically related. Oh, Gregson. I hate that we lost Gregson. But man, the guts of this game to get rid of him. I didn't think that was going to happen. Like, they brought back Kazuma.
Whoa.
Oh, jeez. Oh man, he's ready to declare me guilty. He's gonna pop me on the head. Strongheart, man, I wanted to like you so bad. Oh god. You're ganting up. wanted you to be okay so bad.
That would have been too easy.
I suppose so.
Hey, Kazuma's alive!
Yeah. And that's another thing, too. He wasn't really dead, so the last thing I thought was they're going to kill off Gregson in the next case. Didn't occur to me at all. You like it?
Yeah.
I like it too.
There's a lot of stuff.
I mean, they really planned ahead with this story. I mean, they might not have had all the exact details, but from the very first case of the first game, this grand story was going. Like, it's pretty impressive.
But you know, it is kind of implied now that he really did do crap with the Skulkin brothers and all of that. Because they're like, yeah, you're our brother from another mother. Because he was not
Yeah.
a good person. Or the best person, I guess.
He was definitely better than Strongheart and Jigoku.
Yeah. Alright.
And I ended up liking these characters a lot. Like, there's always a little nervousness, like, oh, I wonder if the characters are going to be as good as the original. But I think what worked well is that they all had their own personality. Like, even the people who are clearly related to original characters, they're their own person. Like, Van Zeeks, you know, reminds me of Edgeworth with the snootiness and all. But it's a completely different beast. I mean, he was xenophobic because of something big that gets revealed, and then, like, overcomes that. So, you know, Susato is not like a teenager. She's well-educated, well-read, has a book for everything. That was good stuff. Sad that it's over in a way, but,
Alright, we'll petition them to make a new one.
Yes, make a new one and give us the second trilogy so we can play through that. And you can meet Clavier and
Is he spoilers from Germany?
I think so. He and his brother who you meet as well. And then Trucy and Emma.
I've met Emma.
Yes, you have, but you haven't met older Emma.
No, but clavier, it means piano in German.
Ah, well, he plays guitar.
Oh, well, that's crappy.
He's quite enjoyable to watch in action.
Okay.
Alright, thank you for watching. Heck of a duology, and I hope they make a next one in a not-too-distant future. Bye-bye.